Okay, so this is lesson 2 on circles. We're looking today at area of a circle. So the lesson objective today is to be able to find the area of a circle and to begin applying this to more complex problems. The most complicated style of question you're going to see today are composite shapes, or shapes made up of maybe a rectangle or a quadrilateral and a circle, and there might be a shaded region or something that you have to work out the area of part of a shape, usually involving a circle or part of a circle. So let's get into it. There is one formula for this topic. So last lesson we saw circumference, and you'll remember it was circumference equals pi times diameter. Now for area, the formula is pi times r squared, or pi times radius if you prefer. And now sometimes this question comes up on non-calculator papers. If that's the case, then you'll usually be asked to give your answer in terms of pi, in which case you'll just end up with whatever the radius is squared and then put pi on the end. Alternatively, if it is on a calculator paper, then obviously you use your calculator. You should all have a scientific calculator. We'll have the pi button on it. If you can't find it and you're using the same scientific calculators we have at school, which is the FX83GT, you press shift and the times 10 to the power of. Okay. One further thing just to add there is what it says in the text down here. The diameter, if that's given to you in the question, then just remember the radius is half of that. So if they give you the diameter, let's say it was 10 centimeters, then you just need to half it, which would give you 5. So the radius would be 5. Pi times 5 times 5, for example. Alright, let's look at an example with some numbers. So this time, first question you ask yourself is, have they given you the radius or the diameter? And they've given you the radius here. So it is as straightforward as plugging that number 2 into this formula. Okay, so area equals pi r squared. You're going to be doing area equals pi times 2 squared. So pi times 2 squared, well, applying BIDMAS to this question, you have to square the 2 before you multiply by pi, giving you 4. So pi times 4, which you can rewrite as 4 pi. Now, if it was a non-calculator question, that is the answer there, 4 pi. If it was a calculator paper, or you had a calculator in your hand, then you would actually put that in your calculator. So 4 times the pi button, and that will give you this long decimal, 12.56, etc. Now, if the question doesn't tell you what to round to, as I've told you in the past, the best practice is to go to 3 significant figures. So that means 3 digits. So I'm going to draw a line after the 3rd digit, and you look at the number to the right of that line. So if I sort of drew a line in here after the 5, the number after the 5 is a 6, which is bigger than 5, so that would round up 12.6. Don't forget your units, meters squared. Right, we'll do another question now where they've given you the diameter instead of the radius. As I mentioned earlier, you should all know that the relationship between the two is that the diameter is double the radius. So if I need to use the radius, because my formula, in case you've forgotten, is pi times radius squared, you need to half the diameter first. So if the diameter is 16, half of that is 8. Okay? And then you're doing pi times 8 squared, which gives you pi times 64, or 64 pi. Again, if it was a non-calculator, that's the end of the question. Because it's a calculator question, you're now going to round that, let's say, to 1 decimal place, 201.1. Right, here are a few questions for you to try. So what I want you to do is take out your mini whiteboard. Make sure you got your calculator. This is just to practice calculator usage. I know for many of you, you'll know where the pi button is, but for others, a bit of a reminder on how to find these buttons on the calculator is useful. So I've got 2 questions on each slide. The first one will say work out the area. The second one will be area in terms of pi. So if you didn't have a calculator in your hand, what would the answer be? And because you all should have a calculator in your hand, you're then going to tell me what the exact answer is. So, diameter is 8, radius therefore is 4. Here's the answer, 50.3 centimeters squared, and in terms of pi, that would be 16 pi. Because if the diameter is 8, you've got to half it, which is 4. 4 squared is 16, and that's the area. Next, the area of this circle, again the diameter is 9, so half that is 4.5. 4.5 squared is 20.25, so 20.25 pi, if it's said in terms of pi, because you have a calculator in your hand, 63.6. Next one. This time they've given you the radius. Please be careful, make sure you've noted that. That's going to change what you do. Answer then, 452.4, and in terms of pi would be 144 pi. Next one. Diameter. So 227.0 is the area. In terms of pi, that would be 72.25, because you'd have to half this, which will give you 8.5, and then you square it. 8.5 squared is 72.25. One final example then of the composite shape type of question I mentioned earlier. So this question asks you to work out the area of this shaded region. Okay, now the shaded region, I'm sure you can see, is effectively a rectangle, but take out the circle in the middle. So it's a rectangle with a circle missing. So all you've got to do is work out the area of the whole rectangle, which you should all know, base times height, and then you subtract the area of the circle. So we'll do it in those two sections. Area of the rectangle, 18 times 12, which is 216. Area of the circle, pi times 4 times 4, which is this long decimal. And then to find the shaded region, you subtract the two from each other. Now please note, I am not subtracting 50.3. That would be a mistake. Yes, I've rounded it to 50.3 there, but because that's not my final answer, you don't use your rounded version in your working out. What you've got to do is subtract the unrounded version. Okay, so you subtract the accurate version with all of the numbers. Alright, so 260 take away 50.2654. If I were you, just get used to using the answer button on the calculator. Right then, here are 6 questions for you to try. You have to work out the area of each of these 3 shapes, and then for the second question, the area of these 3 shaded regions. Okay, the only thing I will offer as a bit of a hint for the first 3, because we didn't really look at these, but they're pretty straightforward. If this is a half a circle, all you have to do is half your answer. So pi times r squared and then half it. This is a quarter of a circle, so pi times r squared and then divide it by 4. This one is 3/4 of a circle, so it's pi times r squared and then divide it by 4 and times it by 3. Please note, there's 2 answers expected for each of these questions. So I want one answer in terms of pi and one answer to 1 decimal place. You have got to answer these questions, take a picture of your submission, and then please upload that picture to complete the homework for today. Good luck with that.